The new Snow White movie from Disney is coming out soon, and a lot of conservative parents are determined not to allow their children to see it. I get it, and I agree to a certain extent, but I have a different take on this that I hope you will consider for the sake of your children. I see this whole controversy as an opportunity. I agree that parents can no longer, nor should, trust the Disney Corporation to put out good children's content without slipping in woke ideology and progressive leftist propaganda. That is true. The Disney executives have shown and even clearly stated that they are purposefully putting LGBT propaganda into their children's content. They are pushing drag queens for kids, feminism, racism, and all the rest.
Our leadership over there has been so welcoming to my not at all secret gay agenda. And so I feel like I felt like it was, maybe it was that way in the past, but I guess something must have happened in the last, they are turning it around, they're going hard. And then all that momentum that I felt, that sense of, I don't have to be afraid to let's have these two characters kiss. Let's in the background. I was just wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to if you see anything queer in the show, I'm proud of them. But I just was no one would stop me and no one was trying to stop me.
Disney went full woke years ago, and parents absolutely cannot trust them. I totally agree. I also know that the original Snow White movie, released in 1937, which was the first full-length animated feature film Disney had ever produced, had none of these woke ideologies in it. Snow White, the name of the story, was named Snow White because her skin was white as snow. This means she was a white girl, clearly. She was basically the damsel in distress looking for her Prince Charming to rescue her from her life of woe. She showed her grateful and helpful attitude to the dwarves who provided for her through their labor in her time of need. Men who worked to provide for a woman in a home. She showed her grateful attitude by happily doing the housework and cooking for them. The prince came and kissed her without her consent and woke her from her spell-induced sleep. And it ended with the couple getting married and living happily ever after, as the wonderful, whimsical, and happy fairy tales used to do. None of this would do now with the woke ideology the Disney Corporation is promoting. Their idea is that it is not good to be white, so therefore Snow White should not be a white girl. They cast someone purposefully who is not white for the part, which means they are purposefully saying white girls should not be featured in a film that is clearly about a white girl. I think we all know there had to be thousands of actresses who are white who would have tried out for this part. We can expect that Snow White will be a feminist. She will not be looking for a prince to come to rescue her. She will more likely be displaying her girl boss self and won't need a man. More woke ideology, separating men and women, putting them in classes of importance with women being more important than men, and suggesting that seeking to be married to a man and expect him to provide for her or for her to want to nurture him and children is oppressive. In these aspects, before we even see the film, we can know they will be pushing the feminist idea that women don't need men, men are basically useless, and women have to rescue them, and white people are not as valuable as others and should not be featured in roles that make them look good or heroic. In fact, the actress has made clear comments in interviews that she despises the whole idea of Snow White being the traditionally feminine character that the original Disney movie portrayed. In other words, the leftist sexism and racism that is the norm among leftist corporations and on college campuses today will be featured in the Snow White remake, no doubt. The men will be useless and will need a woman to take charge. The white people will be the bad people, as I'm sure the evil queen will be a white actress because she is playing a bad character. The new Disney version eliminates a prince altogether and replaces him with a character who doesn't rescue the damsel at all and does not portray a strong man who wants to protect women. Instead, he is a partner-type character to Snow White and is played by an actor that doesn't understand the awesomeness of manly men. In fact, in an article by Queer Tea, he was described as sexually fluid. In an interview, he explained his idea of how men should think about masculinity. He said, quote, Understanding that there's a beautiful power in softness and vulnerability, specifically in men, I think is something that we have to hold on to. We have to teach the younger men that you don't have to be any idea of what a man means, unquote. In other words, he does not believe in the role of men in society to be strong and masculine protectors and providers, which they clearly are designed to be. I would not want him anywhere near my sons if they were young and impressionable, or my daughters for that matter. So yes, I completely understand why parents do not want to take their children to see this film. I would not take them to the theater to see it either. But, and here's the thing I would suggest, instead of having the mindset that you never want your children to see the new Snow White remake, why not use this as an opportunity to teach your children about discernment? I remember when my children were young, Disney released The Little Mermaid. It was originally released in 1989, so by the time my children were old enough to watch it, it was just coming out on VHS for home viewing. I was aware that the other children that my children interacted with had seen it and talked about it with great glee. I decided that hiding it from my kids and trying to dissuade them from wanting to see it and treating it as if it was a complete negative and etc. wasn't wise. Instead, I could use this as an opportunity to teach them how to look at movies and make judgments about the messages in them. So we got a copy and watched it together. As we did, I pointed out the good things in it, how the music was awesome, the characters were well defined, the animation was beautiful, and etc. But then I asked, what was the message in the film? What was it saying? What kind of ideas was the story promoting? We talked about how Ariel, the main character, rebelled against her father, who loved her and was trying to protect her. She went to a witch for help in disobeying him and basically made a deal with the devil, so to speak. She became rebellious, threw away her family and her culture in order to pursue a romantic ideal that she thought would be better. And in the film, it all turned out perfectly in the end. She married her prince, and it all turned out to be for the best. Is that really the way the world works? Sure, it might work out that way in a movie, but is that the way it works in real life? Is disobedience to parents and disregarding their warnings really best or wise? Making evil deals in order to get what you want? Disregarding the hurt you cause others to pursue your own desires? Throwing away all those who really care about you to grasp a romantic relationship that clearly in real life would have been disastrous. Is that all good? Was she using wisdom in her choices? Having these kind of discussions helped my children learn about discernment. It gave them the understanding that no matter how emotionally engaging a story may be, no matter how beautifully animated or presented it is, no matter how much you root for the character to win in the end, the message the story is promoting may still be a bad one. By pointing out the good things that no one can deny, the wonderful music, lovely singing voices, colorful animation, and engaging storyline, we are being real about how enticing these kinds of programs can be. But at the same time, we are showing our children that many things in this world will seem enticing and fun. That doesn't always mean they're good, and it certainly does not mean the messages they are presenting are true or wise. So here's my suggestion. Do not take your children to the theater to see the new Snow White. You will not have an opportunity in the theater to talk about what the film is saying, point out things, and etc. Instead, get the old version of the Snow White movie from 1937 and talk about what it says and what messages it presents. Then, get the new version when it becomes available by streaming and do the same. This is a great opportunity to teach your children how to discern what is good and what is not, and what values and messages are being slipped into the programs they watch. And this can also spur a discussion about how to discern the same in anything they see or read in books, including school books, articles, and videos online, etc. And it will also allow your children to be able to converse and articulate their own ideas as they grow up without shielding them from things they will eventually hear about from others. I knew my children would be hearing a lot about The Little Mermaid, and I wanted them to know all about it. Your children may hear a lot about the new Snow White movie in the coming year or so. My suggestion is to have a plan to deal with it ahead of time. Of course, there are movies that are just so bad and so full of things like vulgar words, graphic images, and etc. that are completely inappropriate for children. In that case, just say no. But in this case, I think using this new movie as an opportunity to teach discernment is the wisest way to be the most effective parent you can be. I'd love to read your thoughts about all this in the comments. Parents, you can do this. Please remember to subscribe and hit that like button. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you here next time.